Today I'm going to be doing some septic tank maintenance. It's very important that you maintain your septic system. They're a very expensive system to have installed and just not something that you want to ignore. And for as easy as it is for you to maintain it, it's kind of crazy that you don't. So what we're going to do today is we're going to add copper sulfate into the system, and what that's going to do is kill any roots that may be trying to grow into the drain field, or sometimes called the leach field of the system. We're also going to be adding some bacteria that creates enzymes and gets in there and eats up stuff like the toilet paper, proteins, eats up all kinds of stuff and just helps to reduce the sludge. We all know what that stuff is, right? And if your septic system is backed up, it may not be too late for you to do some maintenance and correct the issues that are ongoing. Stick around, we're going to talk about it, show you how it's done right now. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dierdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Let's get started. The septic system consists of two main components, your septic tank and your drain field or your leach field. The leach field basically, once the tank becomes so full of water, it can run out of a pipe into the leach field. If the sludge gets to that pipe, then you're in trouble. You do not want the sludge going into your drain field because it'll plug it up. And if even with just the water that's going into your drain field, it's very fertile, so you're going to have tree roots. The second problem is the wastewater can create a layer around the pipes that becomes very thick. It won't allow the water to run through it anymore, and the drain field just basically quits working. And there is a way to break that up. I'm not going to do that today, but I'm going to tell you how you can and the product that you would use to do it. First off, we're going to talk about killing the roots in the drain field. The drain field, as I said, is very fertile, so tree roots are going to seek it out. It's just like a great fertilizer source. Plant roots are going to seek it out, roots are going to seek it out, they're going to grow into it, and they will just clog the pipes solid, and you need to kill those roots. And you do that with copper sulfate. My system has a copper sulfate port. We're going to go check that out in a minute. If yours does not have a copper sulfate port, you can pour this directly down the toilet. It is recommended that you use 2 pounds twice a year to keep the roots out of your drain field. If you're going to use this via the toilet, you would pour about 1/4 pound in, flush it, another 1/4 pound, flush it, just a little bit at a time, and continue to flush it until you get the entire 2 pounds in. Don't try to dump this all in your toilet, you'll just have a big plug up and a mess on your hands. Let's go out, take a look at my system, and get this copper sulfate in the copper sulfate port. A bit windy out here, so I'm going to stay fairly close to the microphone for right now. This is my septic system. This first green cover is my septic tank. The cover next to that is my transfer station, and it has a pump in it. And then the pump pumps the water into my drain field. And the reason for that is because I'm on a lake and my drain field is higher than my septic tank. So it wouldn't naturally drain into it. It has to be pumped into it with a transfer pump. The drain field has to be located as far away from the lake as possible, being that's why it's way out here near the road instead of reversed where the tank would flow into it downhill. Then everything would kind of flow downhill, and they don't really want it doing that. So it settles up here by the road and not down in the lake. So this first cover right here is my septic tank. This is the power for my transfer pump, and this is basically a well that the transfer pump sits into, and it's low enough to where the septic tank can drain off into it. Then the transfer pump grabs the liquid. There should be no sludge coming over into this transfer pump, grabs the liquid and pumps it out into the drain field, which is out through this area right here. Now it's important that you don't drive on your drain field, you don't build on top of it. I mean, obviously you can go over it with your lawnmower, you can walk on it, you can do all of that stuff, but you don't really want to park a car on it or put anything heavy on it that could potentially collapse the drain field. A good indication that you may be having drain field issues is the ground becomes very wet where the drain field is located. There's an odor. The grass is just banging green right there because the ground becomes saturated with the effluent water, which is very rich in nutrients that the grass would like and need, so it'll just make it banging green in color. So you watch for those things, and those are good early indications that your drain field could be having a problem. This is my copper sulfate port, and this is where we're going to add the copper sulfate. We're going to remove this cap. And we're going to pour 2 pounds of copper sulfate right down in there. The copper sulfate is blue in color. I think you can see it in there. And like I say, we're just going to dump the entirety right in. Once the dust clears, we'll be able to see it in there. Now what I need to do is go flush my toilet 3 or 4 times. That'll put enough water in the transfer pump well to get it to kick on, push some water through there, and push that copper sulfate off into my drain field and start killing the roots. So now 4 or 5 flushes will get that pump to kick on and move that water over. You can also run a sink, the shower, anything that moves water. It doesn't necessarily have to be the toilet, but the toilet moves the most, the quickest. I've left the sink running and came back out here so that hopefully we can hear this transfer pump kick on and push some water into my drain field. I can currently hear the water coming from the septic into the transfer well. So as soon as that well gets the correct amount of water in it, that pump will turn on and push it into the drain field. The pump just kicked on. I think you can hear it running right there. It is flushing the copper sulfate into the drain field. And I don't know if you can see it, but the water running through looks extremely clear for where it's coming from. And that is also a good sign that the sludge is not so high in the septic system that it's carrying sludge with it. And the pump is just shut off, so we have successfully pushed all that copper sulfate right into the drain field. The next thing we want to do is introduce the enzyme producing bacteria into the septic tank, and we're going to do that directly through the toilet. The products I'm using are ZEP. I'm not sponsored by ZEP. It's just the products that were available. Ridex, all of them work just as good. I kind of like the fact that this is a monthly treatment. It comes in a little packet, you throw it in the toilet, it dissolves, it's the correct amount. You know you put enough, and it's all taken care of. Every 30 days you throw one in and you do it again. So let's go ahead and get one of these thrown in the toilet, let it dissolve, and flush it down. So the packets appear to be in a plastic, but it's a water dissolvable material, and it has the correct amount in it, like I say, for 1 month. In it goes. While that's dissolving, at the beginning of the video I said that there is a product that you can use that may help to bail you out of some situations. Your toilets are backed up, the septic service has come, they've pumped your tank, and they've told you that they believe your drain field is not working correctly. There is a company called Mr. Pooper. Yes, Google it, Mr. Pooper. They sell some tablets that you can throw in the toilet, you allow them to dissolve, you flush them down, it puts it into your septic, it puts it into your drain field. And what it does is it's a multiplier. It creates thousands upon thousands of more bacteria or enzyme producing bacteria than would normally be in your septic system. And they can just eat a lot of stuff. I talked about that layer that could build up around the outside of your drain field pipe and not allow the water to drain through it. It can actually eat through that layer, break it down, and get your drain field draining again. In fact, if your drain field's been sitting for a while, it's not a bad idea just to throw them in. It'll bust everything up a little bit, loosen it up, and get your drain field working good again. And it's not a horrible idea to do it, once a year. Throw these tablets in and do it. They come in a small bucket. And like I say, it's Mr. Pooper. Google it. You'll see the company and all the products they sell. And everything I just used, you can also get from them. Once that packet dissolves, I'm going to flush it down. And that's all there is to it. I'm going to put a link down in the description to the product on Mr. Pooper that I'm talking about. So if you're interested, go down there, take a look. If you'd like to get an amazing shirt like this, I'm also going to put a link down there to my store. And it'll also be underneath this video as you're watching it. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so. If you enjoyed yourself, click on one of those two videos. They're going to pop up next to me. And remember to always respect the power of your power tools. And we'll see you soon.